Hi, everyone. Welcome to Two Film Shorties, a sophisticated lifestyle podcast hosted by us, two creatives living in LA. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Two Film Shorties. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rhym, and this is Jameela, and we're so excited to be with you. This episode is the 4 great underrated actors that we have. That are, to us.
4 great underrated actors, yes, in TV, film. And we hope that we can continue to make this into like a series over time, because there's a lot of underrated actors that we feel like doesn't get their proper dues, or you just don't talk about as much, or you just don't see them as much. And maybe they're making appearances everywhere. But to a lot of like everyday folks, they may not be like, I recognize that person. But for us, they go back. So let's start off the list. Let's hit it off.
I want you to start because I'm curious to hear your 4.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. Starting off, we're going to start off strong. Journey Smollett, phenomenal.
Yes.
Bomb, amazing, poppin'. That woman, that girl does the damn thing. A lot of us have seen her throughout the years, like Full House or Eve's Bayou. I remember her too, especially as I got older, because some of those films, you're like, you don't retain as much. I have terrible memory. I'm not going to hold you. I don't remember anything, barely. I don't even remember high school, whatever the case is. But I remember her when I got to like a certain age. I was probably like it was like teen years at one point, and I remember her from Roll Bounce. Did you ever see Roll Bounce?
I don't know what that is. You got to remember, I'm not from here, so I missed a lot of pop culture stuff up until like the 90s.
Oh, yes. Okay, so Roll Bounce was like, it had Bow Wow in it. It was a roller skating movie.
A roller skating movie?
Yeah, it was like rollerblading, roller skating, and it was like based in, I think they were like in the 70s, but it had like him, it was like a Brandon T. Jackson at the time, and it was just like a very like blackety black film, and she was in it, and I remember her from that, and then The Great Debaters. I really recalled her from The Great Debaters. And I remember I got to see her chops for real.
Yeah.
Mad young. Mm-hmm.
Well, she was in Lovecraft Country, and that was super impressive.
That was going to be my favorite thing that I've seen her in is Lovecraft Country. I saw her performance in that. And I feel like especially as an adult, I can appreciate it more, because I remember just growing up seeing her, but as I got older, got more into the industry, I was like, oh my God, like I really see her talent and chops. Lovecraft Country's so good. I wish they didn't cancel that. I don't know why they canceled that.
Yeah.
Pisses me off. But that is an amazing, amazing show. Everyone should check it out. If you haven't seen Lovecraft Country, go watch. So I saw her for that.
And I had the fortune to actually get to meet her in person once.
What?
And like when you meet somebody that you're like, oh my God, I like love this, this actor and their work really. You never know, it's going to be a mixed bag when you meet them. Mm-hmm. But she was an absolute just angel.
I believe
so sweet, positive, lovely, inviting, warm, friendly. I was like, oh, just solidifies my love for you.
She just has such a, you just feel that energy. I know I love that. I love that. That's like reassuring and like confirming, like, you just know she's dope. I just love her because it's like one, I think it's the last film or TV, I think the last thing that she's been in, don't quote me, y'all can go on IMDb or y'all can Google, is this film called The Burial, and it has Jamie Foxx in it. It's on my watch list, and Tommy Lee Jones. But I haven't seen it. I think that's her most recent work that she's doing. Of course, I'm pretty sure she's still working. She's a working actor. But why I think she's underrated, you don't see her always. You see her in her bag as a working actor. You just don't see her outwardly in a lot of these, for us, for like, we'll say like regular folk, I guess, like in these film spaces, like you have to go like really seek out her interviews. You have to go seek out what she's doing. But she's been around for over 30 years. I love her because she has range. You can see her in a drama, comedy. She's doing action. What was it? What was the Harley Quinn film that she was in?
Was it Birds of Paradise?
Yeah, or Birds. Don't quote us. Yeah, I can't remember. But maybe was it? But she was
Birds
in that.
of Prey. I'm terrible with names.
I know.
Titles.
Me too. It's okay.
And then like the fact that I don't speak, like English is not like my first language.
Okay, yeah.
I totally get the titles messed up.
It's all good. Here I am that speaks English as my first language. fumbling. But she was, I mean, action badass in that too. So I just really enjoy her, like to see her climb. I think she, even at a young age of doing like Eve's Bayou, her performance in that, I think she was like 11 years old, or she was really, really young. And it's just that I enjoy that she's versatile and she has range, and that's very inspiring. And she just seems very humble about her craft. So I think she's underrated. Is she working? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And phenomenal.
I think a lot of people on our lists are working. It's just like, I think at the end of our list, we'll talk a little bit about, and we'll get into just in general why we feel like these people are underrated. You know, there may be some like commonalities, but yeah.
Yeah. So Journey Smollett, shout
Who's
out
your
to
next
you.
one?
Naomi Harris.
Oh,
listen. What a gem. What a queen. My favorite film of hers is Moonlight, obviously. A lot of us remember her. I remember her though from Pirates of the Caribbean when she played, what was her name? Because it wasn't like Calypso.
It was Calypso.
Was it, that was the name she went by in the film?
Oh, I think so. I'm not sure.
Basically, I guess Calypso. That's where we, I first saw her, and I think especially for like the Black girlies who love that type of genre and just fantasy and stuff, we were all like, "Oh, who's this?" So that was the first time I really recognized her. But I loved her performance in Moonlight. A lot of us probably remember her more so, or see her in like the James Bond films, like Skyfall or whatnot. But that's when I really that was the first time I really saw her, but I was a kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just nice seeing Black actresses play in these different spaces. Yeah. But her performance in Moonlight was phenomenal. I think she talked about also, she had like there's a hesitancy about playing a Black woman on drugs, you know what I mean? But her performance was phenomenal. She killed it. I actually thought was like a fun fact was she she shot Moonlight in 3 days because she was filming one of the Bond, or she was in the James Bond films, whatever. So she shot that. And then what was really, really cool was what is his name? When child, I am blanking on the actor. Oh my God. What is his name?
Wait, which one? In Moonlight?
Trevante Rhodes, yes. Oh my God, I was blanking. She said that they had this very beautiful like emotional scene, and she just met him like 10 minutes before. So I just really enjoy that she's able to like deliver and perform on the spot. She has range as well, and she just seems like a very, very humble actress. So she's someone that I enjoy. I think the last thing, she was in this TV series. She was also in Swan Song. Have you seen Swan Song?
I haven't seen it. You know, a film that she's in that I actually loved and I think most people didn't get to watch was Ninja Assassin.
Yeah.
And
she's so badass.
I live for Kung Fu films. So her and like B. Rain, who's like my other favorite Korean drama actor. Oh my God. He's a singer and actor. I love him. I'm in love. But they were in it together, and it was the Wachowski siblings actually that directed it. So the like fight scenes are badass. The concept is badass. It's just so good. And I just feel like not a lot of people know she was in that.
Range. And then we'll pause. And then she had she also did, there was like this sci-fi horror that she did. Anyway, she has range. Shorty got range. So shout out to her. So that's another one. But the last thing I think she was a TV series, The Man Who Fell to Earth. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah.
That's on my list.
Yeah. I don't really always see her like doing all sorts of things. It seems like she picks, well, we'll talk about it at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was one. And then who else I have? Jesse Plemons, badass. I'm a big fan of Jesse Plemons. My favorite work that he's been in, of course, obviously is Breaking Bad, but I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan. I hated him in that shit, which means that's a really good sign because he was straight up a villain in that energy. He's amazing also in Fargo, and he was in, I think, season 2 of Fargo. He was really, really dope. And I like him as well because he just has range too. Like he was in Game Night, and he can go into comedic roles, and he has like this very dry humor. But anytime he's in something, like he steals the show, whether it's like in a lead role as like just a main role, side character, whatever the case, he always knows how to take over. And he's been nominated, I think, for like 2 Emmys at this point. And but yeah, he's really dope. And he's been in other things, obviously, like The Irishman, which he was really great in. So he does drama, comedy, and he's been around for a long time too. And I think a lot of these actors, for me, is just they've been in the game for so long. So it's a nice reminder that you just got to keep going, and over time you'll finally, you'll be seen, and you'll be able to get in these spaces and get the recognition you deserve, like what we're doing now. And then the last one is Giancarlo Esposito, or yes, Giancarlo Esposito. I always worry about butchering his name. Badass.
Sorry, Giancarlo.
Giancarlo Esposito. Been in the game for so long. Again, I love him in Breaking Bad. He had me shooketh. Better Call Saul is a really great show too. I also say like you should watch Better Call Saul, where it's like takes place before Breaking Bad, and so you can see his range of like character development, or like how he doesn't, from where he is with Breaking Bad to Better Call Saul, and his growth as just being this villain. But he's like so posed and like badass. But the first time I really remember seeing him was in Spike Lee Do the Right Thing, which everybody needs to go see if they haven't seen that. And again, just the range. Even though he plays a lot of villain roles, people just know him as that. He, again, like Do the Right Thing, and there's other shows. I think actually his latest show is called Parish.
Yes.
On Showtime.
Yes.
And I'm shout out to him, but he's been in Mandalorian. He's also been in what's the superhero TV show?
Is it Bad Boys?
Yes. Is it called Bad Boys? Terrible.
I know.
Again, I can't remember, but he's been in that.
Awful.
He's playing a villain too. But I really enjoy him because, one, inspiring again for how long he's been in the game. And anytime you watch his interviews, he's so passionate about acting and the way he talks about how he develops his characters. It like refreshes me because I'm like, oh, like this is why you like should study and just pay attention to these folks, in the sense of like they teach you so much, and he literally can get these characters, and he just gets excited about talking about how he came to becoming the character. And I just love that. So shout out to him. So those are my 4 underrated.
I love him. Honestly, like, thank you for that reminder, because he's just so like
boss.
He's very expressive as well. I think, in ways that are really like just not complicated, but like multi-layered.
Yeah.
And
while being stoic with it.
Yeah. He has a very commanding presence and incredible voice.
Yes.
He's just a remarkable actor. So I love that you mentioned him.
Yeah.
Those are 4 good
and he's
ones.
Handsome too.
Yes.
Baby, he aging like fine wine.
Silver fox.
Okay, Zitty. I love it. But yes, those are my 4. Starting off strong in this new hopefully continuous series of underrated actors. Yeah.
Yes, our underrated actors.
Let's hear about yours.
Mine. Okay, great. Let's see. It's so interesting because like the first one, so I thought Naomi Harris as well. Like she was on my list. But alongside her, for whatever reason, was Kimberly Elise. I love Kimberly.
Energy.
I think she's such an incredible actress as well. My favorite film of hers, and I was torn between 2, was Diary of a Mad Black Woman. She killed it. Like she went to those dark places.
Oh my God. Amazing.
And just her believability factor of, her performance is just incredible. And so that film, but also Beloved. We recently watched that actually together, and
8. That's a very, you have to be ready to watch Beloved. I just want people like, everyone should go watch Beloved, based off of Toni Morrison's book Beloved. But yeah, I wasn't ready. We were watching it in the house.
In my house, I just was like
with our friend Dan, and it was just
But it was amazing. So good. Yeah. So she's amazing. Also, so the last film she's done was, I think, a film called A Snowy Day in Oakland, which I haven't watched, but she works. But again, it's like, I see actresses in certain roles where sometimes I'm like, oh, Kimberly would have been great in this. She would have killed this. So for whatever the reasons are that we'll discuss later, it's just she's not in those prevalent roles. But she's amazing. I get lost in her performances, quite frankly.
Same.
My number 2 is actually Penelope Cruz.
We love Penelope.
She's so beautiful, but also she's so captivating on screen. Beyond beauty. And that always that always makes me want to like see somebody's other performances more and more and more. Through the years, I've done a lot of work in like watching her old movies, and oh my God, I saw Eyes Wide Shut and I was like, sorry, not Eyes Wide Shut. The other one with Tom Cruise. Gosh. The one where like his face gets disfigured, some old movie. Anyways, it was really weird. But I liked it a lot. And she was really fun and like light and flirty. Everyone knows her from Vicky Barcelona. But yeah, love her. So my favorite movie of Penelope's actually is a film that I think it placed in Cannes, if I'm not mistaken, last year or the year before. And it's called Official Competition.
Gotta watch it.
If you haven't seen this film and it kind of flew under the radar, you have to watch this movie. She plays opposite Antonio Banderas, and she plays an eccentric director who is really quirky, kind of insane, pretentious, but it's just hysterical and so good and super artsy. And I was like, why haven't I heard of this film? Should be everywhere. So Official Competition, watch it, especially for like what we do. And as a director, it just was so enjoyable to me. The character's approach to like, her actors and actresses, it's just like, oh my God, it was so good. I think it was actually filmed during the pandemic. But really, really fantastic. The last film she was in was actually Ferrari, which I haven't seen
Ferrari yet.
And so it's also on my watch list, but she's such a strong actress. She really, really is. And a Latina and just like, beautiful. She seems beautiful inside and out. Her and her husband are like a power couple. I just,
love to see it.
My third person actually is, so I was torn about this one simply because he's a Korean actor. Y'all gonna get a lot of Korean cinema info from me because I love Korean cinema. That's actually like what I grew up on. But he's been able to cross over to the American film market pretty well. He's older and his name is Lee Byung-Hun. He's been in some of the bigger franchises. If you don't know like his face, you'll recognize him. He played Snake Eyes in one of the older G.I. Joe movies. But he is a standout actor in Korea, and I think he really holds his own here as well. He does mostly, I think, Korean cinema, but he's been in movies that actually, while they're Korean, they're prominently featured on Netflix here in America and for the American market. My favorite film of his is actually, again, I'm torn between two. One is called The Age of Shadows. I believe it's on Netflix. It's a historical piece. And he just, again, he's somebody that like I'm entranced when I see him on screen. And he really just is, what's funny is I think he has a lot of like what Giancarlo has, which is that like, that steadfastness, that like, presence that's like, yes, I'll follow you wherever. You're such a leader type. And so the other movie that I love of his is actually called Memories of the Sword. And that's a Korean film, also period piece. And so good. It's beautiful. It's, again, martial arts based and rooted. But he is, and it doesn't hurt that he's absolutely gorgeous. The last film he was in was called Concrete Utopia. I haven't seen that yet. And then my last actor that I think is underrated, her name is called Mia Wasikowska. Loved her. Love her. I
Oh.
think everybody knows her from, she played one of the reboots of Alice in the Wonderland.
Yes. I know what you're talking about.
You know, and she has such an interesting career because I think she really does pick and choose the type of characters she wants to play in a certain way. She's very much in like darker thriller horror movies. My favorite film of hers is actually Stoker. If you haven't seen it yet, you gotta see it. It is very weird, but like captivating and a mystery film. Nicole Kidman is in the movie, plays her mother. Very like underrated film. The filmmaker, the director, I always butcher his name, but he's Korean actually. Actually, oh my God, it has to be the director who made Parasite, I believe. Parasite. if I'm not mistaken. But Stoker is great. The other film I love her in is Jane Eyre, and that's a period piece based on the book. Michael Fassbender plays in it too.
Wait, Jane Eyre? Is it Jane Eyre? Those books?
I believe it's Jane Eyre. Yeah.
I'm probably just butchering it. I remember those. I think I remember that book like we had to read it in school.
Yeah.
What I think it is. And it was like this. What era was it? Did she end up? Never mind. Let me not talk about that.
Yeah, don't. But it's so good. I mean, their chemistry is also like so palpable and so like incredible. They're amazing, you know, when they act against each other in this film. But I loved her in Jane Eyre. I feel I'm such an empath when I watch movies and certain characters. It's just like she really captivates me when she's on screen. Yeah. She plays in a lot of these types of movies. Oh my God, there was a movie recently that I watched too where she played opposite. Oh, I don't remember his name, but she plays kind of like a hooker, and she goes on a date with the guy who's actually a serial killer, like a psychopath. And it's what is that?
Oh, I want to watch that.
It's so wild. And I don't like horror movies, but it does get gory in certain places, but the levels to it. And there's also a twist at the end. So good. Like everything Mia is in, I'm a fan. Like if I see her name, I'll watch it. It doesn't even matter. I believe she was in Crimson Peak as well. Crimson Peak. And opposite, gosh, what's his name? He plays Loki.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm awful, y'all.
Y'all, I haven't. We just, it's okay.
It's one of those days.
It's one of them days, baby.
But yeah, so she's amazing. The last film she was in is a film recent. I think she filmed that came out last year. Is called Club Zero. Haven't seen it yet, but I will. I've seen the majority of her movies, and again, just super, super, super talented. And all these people on our list are talented, including people we haven't mentioned yet. But so tell me, Jameela.
Yes.
After, going through our list, why do you think, in general, some of these folks are not as, like, why we consider them underrated and why they're not prominently featured?
I think a lot of times people we kind of touched on it, is like pick and choose what kind of roles they want to go for, or what they feel called to do. And I think that's a big part. And I also feel like they're in positions where they don't have to say yes to everything. I don't think you're supposed to say yes to everything, but I think they're in a space in their careers where they're like, yeah, I'm good on that. I'm going to pass on that. Then of course I also think like contractual obligations. Like if you're shooting some type of show, you can't be a part of this film at the time because of the dates or whatever the case is. But I think that's a big one. And another one I think about, some people might be more on a, I don't want to say like a typecasted spill. I know with some folks, it can be in that type of space. Like you play a certain type of character. Like if you're playing a villain all the time, they're going to, even though you may have range, they're going to see you as like a villain.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True.
So I think that's also a big piece of it.
That's such a good point, because that kind of segues into what I think happens more often than not. Is it speaks more to, I think, the industry and the fact that, I think for whatever reason, a lot of the people who call the shots and green light projects and with certain cast members and actors. I think they like to recycle a lot. So we'll see a lot of the same names over and over and over and over again. And I don't know if it has to do with talent, because obviously these people are talented, other people are talented you don't hear about as much. And less about talent and more about just like comfortability and wanting to be like, well, that person was in a, really blockbuster film that did well. And so that means that whatever movie they'll be in will be just as successful. And that's not the case, obviously, but it's kind of like that cycle where like, obviously they were positioned to be in something that was successful. And so you assume that success carries over to other projects versus taking a chance and then kind of diversifying and saying, oh no, let's throw in, Jesse Plemons into this role that would have normally gone to, Chris Pratt or whoever. Like, taking that risk is, I think it speaks a lot to the industry where like those folks are not taking those risks, those appropriate risks, and kind of like evenly distributing the opportunities, which I think should happen.
So it comes down to money or what profit, like you would say. It's like kind of like what the profit would be, because they're bringing the popular actor in to bring people in to come see the films or the shows. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing is like those actors are popular because they were positioned in those films. Yeah. And so, or shows. And so like, if you would have plugged in, I think any other talented actor, that would have happened still. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So like, instead of depending on the like one actor to bring in ticket sales, which like, listen, that was the old school Hollywood model for a while. And I think that's why they're saying like that the Hollywood superstar model is dead, because, it's like, yes, Tom Cruise will bring in those numbers. Love Tom Cruise, fun actor, great actor, but like, and typecast into a lot of action movies as well, obviously. But like, if suddenly he couldn't be in the next Mission Impossible and you plugged in somebody else that was super talented, I think the franchise would still be just as strong and just as interesting. Absolutely. Like, because
here I go, because I'm like, no, because it's only Tom Cruise can play that role, because Tom Cruise has been in that role since the beginning. Because that's Tom Cruise. That's his thing. Yeah, that was his thing, and that's a different, like, maybe. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah, maybe we don't talk about Mission Impossible, but maybe we talk about a different movie, right? Like, as we're seeing with like resurgence, like recycled movies, and what do you call that? What's it when you bring back an old reboots? Yeah. So sick of reboots. Reboots, they're always bringing in new actors for those, right? Like that's fresh blood. So, and usually it's on the strength of that franchise, which is really based on the fan base. So like, it's not to say that like talent doesn't matter, because it absolutely does, I think. But I think it speaks more to like the fan base, and if you really invest and you market a film appropriately, 9 times out of 10, it will do really well. And so, especially if like everything else around it, story, everything is so good, like it's going to do well. So you just need to position these actors and give them a chance and cast them in them. And that's a good point. Yeah. I am not the most, I enjoy Star Wars, but I am not the like people who know Star Wars up and down to the T. But I think there was, he played like the young, was he playing Anakin or Luke? I'm not going to even mention it, but this is one actor who the fan base was not fucking with, because it was like, I think was he playing Luke, like a young Luke Skywalker? But I'm gonna bring it up next episode because it's going to really bother me. But he disappeared for a little bit because of the way the fan base like. I know who you're talking about. And but they appreciate him now. Like it's been like 20 years, but they were not rocking with him. But then it made me think, like you said, well, maybe if you just market correctly and you promote it, I'm like, maybe they didn't do enough to actually push him as that character, or like market him in a certain like, because the we're so stuck on what Star Wars was, and it's like you're bringing all these new folks in to come out with the Star Wars. Like, what the hell is this?
That's such a good point. I think Star Wars is a hard one because it's such a franchise, and I think that like that's crossed over like generations. That I think that like that's kind of a difficult one. I think like the franchise is like a Star Wars, like a
like Marvel
movies,
Superman's.
Right?
DC
people, I think the fan base gets really obsessive and controlling in certain ways, and to the point like there's almost like no winning, I think, because they have their heart set on certain folks and they get really like dogmatic about it. So I don't know, though. I think those types of bigger franchises aren't maybe a good example of that, because they, in my opinion, I feel like every Star Wars films, like there's a lot of money behind it. They market it really well. So I think it's just the fact that like the fan base have specific actors in mind. And there's a lot of like, fan films and things like that. And I feel like there was kind of like no winning there. I know who you were talking about. I think his name was Christensen. Hayden Christensen.
Was that it? Okay.
Hayden.
Okay. Because I was like...
Christensen? Something like that. Yeah, look him up. Yeah, that was him. Hayden Christensen.
They gave him such crap.
Yeah, he got a lot of...
butchering him. And I was like, yo, y'all need to like let him breathe, dude. Let him breathe.
Well, yeah. So
he played Anakin. He was, Anakin Skywalker.
So those franchises are a little different. But I feel like other movies that are maybe one-off films, right? Or
like Rocky
or
to Creed.
Yeah, that did really well. That was a fantastic
people
example.
Were like, oh, we don't know if you get, but it was like he didn't actually do Rocky, but he became,
he focused on Apollo Creed. Yeah. And that was brilliant, right? Like that's a spin-off type, a story that you develop that, is still meaningful to a certain fan base, but has depth, has a great like underdog story built within it, and
I'm following. This is how I talk to Rhym. I have to like, she's so patient with me because I'm like, okay, I have to give examples for me to to understand and like comprehend. And she's like, that's a good one. Yes, that's exactly. Yep. And I'm like, okay, I'm following. So hopefully this helps y'all too.
No, but like, if we're not talking franchises though, I do think that one like big movies, right? Like what was a recent big film that we watched that could have been any other talented actor. I don't know.
Oh dang, because I watch a lot of indie films.
Yeah. Oh, I recently watched like, oh wait, no, that's kind of a different one because it's a French film. Anatomy of a Fall. That I think that actress really was amazing. But
how? Actually, let me not even go there.
What?
I was about to be like, how they did the Willy Wonka remake, but they put Timothée Chalamet in it. Did it have to be Timothée Chalamet? Is that like an example of what we'd be talking about?
He's a great example, actually. Yeah, of like he's kind of in all
no shade, bro, but
yeah, all the new movies that come out, and my thing is like
Dune.
Yeah, did he have to play that? And other actors could have played those roles that were just as good. If not better.
I need to research
so that. I think that it's like the hot or the trending actor, and I think it does that concept of recycling them really does a disservice to anybody else that could have done just as much of fantastic performance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what's interesting about that is like, I think a lot of folks are kind of tired, or you get kind of burnt out of seeing the same faces over and over again. And I'm that person. So if I keep seeing the same actor in like 3 films that year, I won't be as motivated to go see that movie because I'm like, well, I can expect.
Even if they're really good.
Yeah, it depends.
And they give you range. Well, I guess it's like if they're good and they give you range of performances.
At that point, when I keep seeing, you just kind of get fatigued. If you keep seeing the same person, you're just like, well, is the story compelling? Then I start looking at the story and I'm less seduced by the actor's performance. right?
Yeah.
And I think that actors that are very picky about the roles that they're in, like, there's a world where they may factor that in.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, well, I don't want to be in everything just because I can. You know, and I think it goes both ways. It's kind of like, just because you can be in everything, should you be in everything? And
that part,
can that work against you? Because, you know, viewership may get fatigued. I don't know.
No, that's a
viewership. Theorizing.
No, that is real. I hear so many people say about the viewership fatigue is a real thing. I like that, Rhym. That's a really great point, girl. Make y'all think about it.
That's
good. Yeah.
And my thing is, like, through the years, they've really, there's more of a gap between indie films and big budget films, right? And so you used to be able to go to the movie theater and be able to see more independent drama films, right? And like, you don't see that as much. No. A lot of movies now that the studios want to back are spectacle films that are, you know, your franchises or reboots. And my problem with that is, like, you know, we're seeing it more with these, like, superhero movies again, where you get fatigue, like audience fatigue.
They actually, let me not talk about Marvel. This is what people allegedly. I like Marvel, but yeah, a lot of people like Marvel has lost the plot. Marvel has been so far gone when it comes to, like, creating really. Well, actually, just Marvel just kind of took over film.
Yeah, they took over, right? And what's interesting about that is that, like, it's become kind of an echo chamber with storytelling for them, because I think their problem mainly is the fact that it's a formula. When you watch a Marvel film, you know exactly what formula, more or less, to expect at what time. And so there's no more, you know, how do you say it? Like,
shock value,
surprise.
Wow,
no, not even shock value, but, like, it's not as interesting because you know what to expect. And for me, I think as a, you know, how do you say, like, a lover of cinema, I really like to go into a movie not knowing exactly what's going to happen. Even for biopics, I'm kind of like, I want to be, you know, I want to be a little surprised, you know, and something different. And so I think that's their problem. And the problem is because they took over cinemas, right? Yeah. Like, a lot of those ticket sales were only for those types of movies. And so it kind of reiterated the fact that, like, you know, those studio execs were like, well, we're making a lot of money. You're making a lot of money because there's no competition. And when there's no competition, it's really not fair for, you know, other films that are more important, other films, you know, like maybe socially, other films that are, and it's like they pick and choose the types of movies that they want to tell. And this is on the studio level, like, you know, the type of movies that they want to tell. And it's just like that, you know, they put all their money in that, but then maybe they don't market it as well. Yeah. You know, it's like very interesting. And I'm talking about a lot of, like, black and brown film stories. Absolutely. Because for Monkey Man, I'm like, the marketing for that could have been so much better.
Oh my God. And it's such a freaking amazing film. You know? Yeah. We did not get enough marketing for that.
They didn't. And also, like, what's interesting is he was actually in another film, Dev Patel. He was in another film that I watched on the plane. I think it was last year when I was flying to France in August. And it was called Green Knight.
Oh, yeah.
It was so interesting, right?
It was good.
So different. Such a unique take on storytelling. And I think it was originally, it was A24, but it was originally a poem that they kind of built out. And it was so visually stunning to me, the way it was shot. And
it was beautiful. Done really, really well.
Right?
Green Knight, y'all should go watch The Green Knight.
And intriguing. And, but again, not heavily marketed. Yeah. And, so it's unfortunate, but like when you've got the big dogs, you know, the big superhero movies, or you've got, you know, the franchises that get first dibs that are scheduled into theaters years from now, even, you know, into festivals, into theaters years from now. It's kind of like you're not allowing room for new growth in the sense of, like, new films that have interesting ideas and stories and new talent, you know, actors, directors, DPs, you name it. there isn't fresh blood and we need fresh blood. And what's interesting is I feel like I'm in meetings with people, executives and stuff. They're always like, yes, we need fresh blood. We're desperate for new stories, fresh takes on things. And I'm like,
are you?
Well, no, I think they are. I think the problem is like the ones that actually do the green lighting and that like make those decisions are the money people, are the ones that have their like spreadsheets and their grids and it's all about money. Yeah. And the problem is they're going, yeah, Denzel is the number one. He's the one that's going to, green light a Black film. But the problem is it's always been Denzel for the, and Denzel's in that position because they usually always cast him. And it's like this revolving door of like, well, they're popular and they're great. Yes. But they're a pull because they were put in those positions continually. You see what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, especially it's like there were a lot of Black actors during his prime time. Denzel.
Yeah. And I love Denzel, but it's
phenomenal. I mean, I also think he's just very deserving of whatever roles he does get, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's a true talent.
Yes. But again, it's kind of like diversifying that and spreading it. And I think they were really, especially back in that day in his time, is like they focused a lot on the superstar. They put all their effort and their energy, whatever agencies, on their like top 3 or 5 like top billed actors. And the problem is everybody else on their roster suffers. And I think the viewership suffers because we're not exposed to incredible new talent and actors that could really add something else to the characters. So.
Oh, Rhym be just going off, baby. I'm here for it. No, that's so real. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, that's a really kind of great note to end it on.
Yes. And we want to hear from you, like, because this is going to be an ongoing segment, like, send us names of actors who you think we should add to our underrated actors lists. You can send it to us in the comment section on TikTok and why you think they're underrated, right? Because we want to hear from people.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap. Any final thoughts? What's your final thought for?
My final thought is,
I had a quote.
Do you have a quote?
I have to find it though.
Okay.
But what's your final thought? My
final thought is, oh my gosh. Okay. So I brought up that I saw Anatomy of a Fall, right? That film, I actually watched with my husband.
Love it.
I think it could really either fracture your relationship more.
Really?
Or you have to watch it. Or it can like solidify that you're kind of on the same page. And it's funny, for us, it was the latter. Because I was watching this, because you have to really watch it. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But it is about a woman whose husband passes. And there's a court case about it. And she's this, obviously suspect number 1. And she has a child and, with him, and she's a successful author and he was an author, but not as successful as her, is what I'll say as the premise. And just the competition between the two, I think, is what came to the surface in that film. And it was so amazing, like his take and her take, and you're like, wow, in a relationship, I think there's a lot of elements of this dynamic of, who has to kind of sit back and do more of the childcare and how that affects career. And oh my God, we were watching it and it's so funny because like both my husband and I were like, he's such a little bitch. And oh my God, like this is so crazy. But I have friends who told me that they had that exact dynamic in their relationship. And the husband was like, no, he has, or the boyfriend was like, I have such sympathy for him. And like, no, she's in the wrong and she's controlling. And I was like, well, It was like really interesting.
Yeah.
It's such a great, I think, expose on that. But you should actually watch it. Yeah, Anatomy of a Fall. That was really wild.
Love it. You're like, what are we doing after this? Yep. Mine is a verse that's like calming to the heart, and it's from the Quran and says, "Indeed, what is to come will be better for you than what has gone by." And I needed to hear that this.
Can you say that
week.
again and slower?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah. I talk kind of fast. Indeed, what is to come will be better for you than what has gone by. So, yeah. Been doing a lot of reflecting in life. But no, it's we try to hold on to past things, or we worry about the future, and it's just kind of like you gotta let go and let God. So I hope that helps somebody today.
I love
whenever
that.
you hear it.
Yeah. And the best is yet to come, right?
Yeah.
Please, follow us on our TikTok channel. What is our TikTok channel?
Two Film Shorties with the number 2.
And
and our Instagrams.
Yes, our Instagram.
Yeah. I'm Jameela.Winters.
And I am Rhym.
Love it. Okay.
Thank you for joining us. Next episode. Episode 5.
Oh my gosh, we're moving so fast. I'm here for it. Yes, we'll be talking about 5 habits to increase your confidence on set. Whoop, whoop. Some of us need it. Some of us need to hear it.
And yeah, kind of what helps us feel confident, on set, behind the camera, and in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So don't forget to subscribe to Two Film Shorties. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and SoundCloud.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.